You're listening to the Fast Intentions Podcast. Now here are your hosts, Nathan and Todd.
Hey guys, welcome back to Fast Intentions, episode 37. For the first time in almost a week, it's above zero here in Omaha as we record on Wednesday night. How you doing, Nathan? You've been surviving the sub-zero temperatures?
My car's not, but I am.
Oh, having some issues?
No, my car just sucks in the snow.
Driving, you mean?
Yes.
It's been starting?
Yes, it's actually been starting, which is surprising. Our neighbors across the street, they had 3 cars and none of them started at all. But mine starts, it's just... Anytime I'm on any sort of snow and I'm going 20, I'll start that's my car.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's going all over the place. So, I mean, I just gotta take it slow. But it wasn't too bad out today. But now it's supposed to snow tomorrow night, so that's probably
gonna a couple inches possibly.
Yeah, so that's gonna get ruined already. So
well, luckily the truck started every day. Even when it got down to 20 below that one morning, I was kind of worried, but it started, and I've been giving several people rides to work and stuff. So been dropping it in the 4x4 and using that pretty exclusively and been getting around pretty good. I mean, I'm taking it slow. I'm going about 30, 35, but I'm able to get around, no problems. But you always see these people out there drive around and they just drive like it's normal weather conditions. It's just, or people that drive without their headlights on. And here's the thing that I've discovered. If you see somebody coming at you with their headlights off, if you flash your high beams at them, it doesn't help. They don't do anything. Now, occasionally if I have time to turn my lights actually off and on, then most of them will turn their lights on. But for whatever reason, if you flash your high beams, nobody picks up on the fact that their lights are not on. So.
I felt glad one day I turned my lights on and off, and then because someone didn't have their lights on, then they turned them on, and I felt proud to be a good civilian for 30 seconds.
Good for you.
But no, I mean, the only thing is I go... Because my car sucks, I'm always going 20 or 25. And then usually everyone's riding my ass. And eventually, I'm just go around. I don't care. I'm going slow. Because I know I'll start swerving. So,
well, for the second week in a row, the fan part of the backdrop is owned by Glenn Turner Jr. We're displaying the Texas Rangers World Championship towel he gave us to display. So thanks again to Glenn. Also, reminder, if you have something you want displayed, let us know, and we'll put it up here. Because
we also have the Wayne's Museum's hat here.
Yeah, so we mentioned the J.M. Davis Museum last week, and that's the museum where our buddy Wayne worked, and Glenn was nice enough to purchase his hat for Nathan when we were down there and asked me to bring it back to him. So we have. And eventually Nathan and I will have our own little things hanging up. I know Nathan's got something he wants to hang up, and I haven't decided what I'm going to put up yet. But
So we're just saying we have that, and then we may also have some table space. Yeah. I mean, you got to keep room for the Fast Intentions license plate. Is that a license plate?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. So, yeah, and then next time like I said, this was the first video podcast. There's probably going to be some technical difficulties. It was my fault, but the table was the camera shot was kind of slanted, so I zoomed in to balance it out, so you couldn't see as much of the backdrop. So hopefully you can see most of it in its glory in this episode.
Yeah.
But then we're also not professionals, so you just got to stick with us through the ride. Eventually, if we build up to it, there's a podcast you listen to. They're part of Omaha Productions now with Peyton Manning.
Omaha!
So they used to do it on their kitchen table. Now they got Peyton Manning doing the audio. So, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get that big, but...
I actually listened to a little bit of New Heights tonight, the Kelsey's podcast. Because I saw a clip, and I know, there's rumor that Jason might be retiring, but he hasn't announced it yet. And so he said he wanted to wait a few days and let the emotions of the game and all that just subside a little bit. Because he said in the moment...
Oh, make sure you're talking into your microphone, sir.
He said in the moment it was just too much emotion at that time, so...
it's okay. We're still podcast beginners around here.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I apologize for that. I do want to take a moment of silence here to say my professional football season has ended for this year as my Steelers lost to the Buffalo Bills, those fake sliders from Orchard Park. So. All right, thank you.
Okay, I was like, okay, who are we giving a moment of silence to? We're giving a moment of silence to your audio because it wasn't in the microphone.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into the games.
Do you want to start from how they happened? Let's kind of think we just do it that way.
Well, okay. I mean,
otherwise, if you don't really care, we probably won't have a whole lot to say about every single game. But we can also talk about our predictions. Ooh, the Celtics up by 25 at halftime.
yeah, boy, here
Speaking
we go.
of that, they're beating the Spurs, who suck. Okay, so the first game of the weekend was the Texans versus the Browns. And this was fun because I saw Scott's Facebook post where he said, man, this is a really back and forth game. This is fun. And then he commented on his own post like 5 minutes later. He goes, well, that didn't last long because it turned into a big blowout.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it was fairly close at half. It was like 24-14. But then the Texans just ran away with it at halftime. And, yeah, C.J. Stroud didn't show any issues as a rookie. Nope. 16 for 21, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. They ran the ball enough to keep the defense honest. I really thought the Browns could pressure him and get to him. But, yeah, C.J. hung in there and made all the throws, the tight windows, the slants, the screens. He just played really well overall. Joe Flacco came out and threw it 46 times, but the Browns, they'd probably prefer to be like in the mid-20s as far as pass attempts because with the running game they have. But
especially when they're fully healthy with
Chubb. The Texans just shut them down, and props to them. I said, I think on last pod, I said I could see the Texans maybe winning it, but this kind of blowout I just didn't see in the cards at all. Maybe the Joe Flacco magic ran out, but
yeah, that's kind of the reason why I went with the Texans when I did pick it. It was just kind of, I know C.J. Stroud was a rookie, and everyone's always concerned about the rookies maybe not stepping up to the spotlight, but he's been good all year. Definitely looks like the best rookie out of that class so far.
Oh, definitely.
But we can't judge poor Bryce.
Yeah, I made my decision based on the Browns' defense of what I thought.
But I was surprised.
Would show up, and it just
45, 14? Mm-hmm. 45 was a lot. I didn't expect 45 at all.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of knew Joe Flacco. He's been a success story coming off his couch and then just throwing for 300 yards every game. But then he had those 2 back-to-back pick sixes, and that just kind of killed. And then, like you said, having to become a team where you had to throw the ball 49, 46 times, that's not really their game. They're more a strong run game, and then kind of work off of that. So.
Yeah, more play action, and
you can't really do that when you're down 24.
Draw the defense up and then try to go over the top. Amari Cooper had been playing great, and he wasn't much of a factor at all.
No. So, I didn't watch it. I was working, but just kind of – I watched, like, the highlights, but, that doesn't really tell you much about the game ever. So.
And then that night, the Chiefs and Dolphins and it went pretty much as we expected, or as I expected. Let me say as I expected. Just the cold weather, the Dolphins coming up from South Florida, and I just couldn't see the Dolphins consistently putting together enough offense to score and keep them in the game. And basically, they had one pass play to Tyreek Hill
for a touchdown for
50-some yards, and basically it was pretty much Chiefs just had the Dolphins cover the whole way, and it went in 26-7.
Well, even then, because you were talking about the defense was so decimated. I guess I didn't realize how decimated they were because they even made a point during the game. They're missing 20 sacks on this team. I go, geez, that's a lot of damn sacks. I didn't realize it was that much, I guess. But to be honest, I wasn't really keeping up with the Dolphins anyways. But that was even literally the disappointment. Holding Kansas City 26 in that cold weather, especially when the offense was just doing nothing the whole game. Mm-hmm. I was very disappointed. I thought they could at least establish a run game. Tua could make some sort of plays, but he looked terrible. The whole offense looked really bad. So that kind of surprised me more than anything. Even if they didn't win the game, they just didn't look good at all. So,
well, we talked about maybe if they could establish a running game. Mostert ran 8 for 33 yards. Tagliavoa had 3 for 25. 8 6 for 9.
Yeah.
And when you're getting stymied, I can see trying to pass more, but 8 a dynamic player. You got to give him more than 6 carries. You got to throw him the ball as well too.
Well, most are more than 8. Yeah, how do you only run the ball 14 times?
He had 3 catches for 21 yards, which just isn't much.
Well, I guess I get if you're down, but they went down the whole time. It was close for a while, so yeah, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. So yeah, and then Tua just doesn't look good. So unfortunately, Tua is going to be. He's in this crappy realm now where he's going to be playing really well at the first half of the year, and then he's going to have all those good stats because he has Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, all these weapons. But then if he's going to keep playing bad against the good teams, he's always going to have that hung around him. So that's not a good trend to keep having on you.
This just shows that Miami's going to have the home field advantage through the playoffs, and just try to get teams to come down there and play in the nice warmer weather because obviously they can't handle the cold temperatures. Now this weather is the weather in Buffalo was just extremely cold, but they just didn't seem like they adjusted well.
No, and then they also may have the terrible conversation you don't have is Tua the guy. You never want to have a team where you're questioning whether your quarterback's going to potentially be the guy to lead you, because then you're in that room like, well, we could be doing good, but we have Tua who's show promise, but he may not be the guy. You don't want that in between. Well, I'd rather know you got your person that you could build around and or at least say this guy's a piece of crap. Like the Jets can at least say, well, if we get Zach Wilson out there and we get Aaron Rodgers back, we're going to be good. So I feel like the Dolphins may have now. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a sec, but now who knows? Will the Cowboys have that conversation with Dak now because the media goes crazy?
I think Dolphins have their quarterback. I mean, this loss isn't just on Tua. I mean, it's the whole team just didn't play well. So, like I said, if they can get home field advantage and have the teams come play in Miami, I think they'll do well. I mean, and they did beat Dallas, and they did beat somebody else back to back. Was it Philadelphia or somebody? Philadelphia. The Philadelphia one doesn't look so great now, but they beat some quality teams, So
I know it's just I think they consistently. I don't think they've done it.
Yeah.
So I think there may be more up in the air about that because I think at least the defense for Miami stepped up a little bit and was able to keep it close for a while. As opposed, I guess the next game we'll just talk about now, Dallas and Green Bay. That whole team was disorganized and dysfunctional. Like I don't know what the hell Mike McCarthy was having them doing through the week, but they didn't look ready to play at all. Which we just saw. There's breaking news. There was all these rumors about, well, Jerry Jones could go get Jim Harbaugh. He could go get Bill Belichick because the Dallas Cowboys, they're supposed to win Super Bowl every year. And oh my God, Jerry Jones is 81. Maybe he doesn't. He's got to blow everything up and restart. Well, they just announced they're going to keep Mike McCarthy for next year. So, but I think if anything, that big piece of shit mess, that was more of a coaching thing than anything because the defense was terrible. Dan Quinn's going to try and get a head coaching job. And then the way their defense played, they gave up a touchdown pretty much every drive except 2.
Yeah.
They didn't look good. CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, they kept showing them yelling at each other or talking. They didn't know what they were doing. And it took them a while to get in. It was just a complete, utter team mishap. I don't really know how to describe it other than they got their ass kicked. They didn't look ready to play at all.
Well, we talked so much. I'm sorry. I apologize. My earbuds are not staying in. But we talked a lot about the Prescott CeeDee Lamb connection. Well, they just weren't on the same page this week. And, Dak misfired. CeeDee dropped some passes. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But the pick six, he tried to force one to CeeDee. And, the Packers were all over that. They knew that was his, security blanket. I mean, they had Jake Ferguson. I mean, why not throw to him? He's been playing great all year for him.
They had a great catch at the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, when you're down 27-0, it's just it's game set match basically. I mean, the odds of anybody coming back from that are just pretty much nil. I mean, so you go into the locker room, you get a touchdown, 27-7. You're like, okay, guys, we got a little momentum. Let's try to go out, stop them, let's score and get it back to 27-14, respectable, and then maybe we could do something. But the Cowboys were never really in it. They had a couple late scores to make it sound closer. But Green Bay just came out with a strong game plan. Aaron Jones looked like the old Aaron Jones from several years ago. Jordan Love, super efficient, 16-21 for 270-some and 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, 21 for 118. I haven't seen that Aaron Jones for a while. Romeo Dobbs, 6 for 151. He was the big rookie talk last year and kind of hadn't really been the stud he was last year, but he really balled out this game. And, Packers just kind of dominated the Cowboys there.
Well, I'll say, like I tweeted, and I think you liked it, or at least maybe you liked it as Fast Intentions. I love A.J. Dillon, but I feel like they always feel like, oh, it's 3rd and short. We got to put A.J. Dillon in there because he's our big back. We need him in there. When Aaron Jones, he averages 5 yards a carry. He's been doing it since Mike McCarthy was there. Mike McCarthy never gave him the ball. What a shock. Matt LaFleur, I feel like he's always scared to use Aaron Jones when he is our top dynamic back. 3rd and short, he can get it. 1st and 10, he's picking up 8 yards. In the pass game, he's great. He's the all-around back. He should have been the guy they were going through while Jordan Love was getting his sea legs under him.
Feet wet.
Yeah, his feet wet. So he should have been the focus of the offense. And since A.J. Dillon's been out, I feel like they're like, well, we got to lean more on Aaron Jones, which I think is a positive because he's the best overall player on that team.
If you do get your feet wet, does that count as having sea legs?
I don't know.
If your feet are wet, is that good enough to go in the sea with your legs?
I don't know.
Or is there a higher standard than just getting your feet wet? Do you have to go like to a pool, and then a city park pool, and then a pond, and then a lake? Is there a progression from that, or just getting your feet wet counts as having sea legs?
Are you trying to make it like a joke, or are you being serious?
Let's move on to the Rams and Lions game.
Well, hold on. We got to talk more about Dallas. So,
okay.
Because their collapse was crazy. Do you really think Mike McCarthy should be back for another?
Well, they actually had a strong year. I mean, you don't really want to judge the season based on what happened in the playoffs. I mean, the Cowboys have been putting up these kind of performances against the Packers in the playoffs for many years before Mike McCarthy was there, and even when Mike McCarthy was on the other sideline. So, every team just has that one bugaboo team, let's say, that for whatever reason they struggle with. And for Dallas in the playoffs, it's the Packers. It's just not a good matchup for them for whatever reason.
But what about the fact that they...
it's like the Steelers when they match up with the Chiefs in the playoffs. You're like, oh, boy.
Well, what about the fact that the Cowboys are always consistently 12-5? They get the playoffs every year, and then they always leave right away. It's not like they still haven't made a championship game. It's not like they ever do anything. I think culture-wise, they need to shift something. But I don't think they should have been like, oh, we need to get rid of Dak Prescott after he had his best year, which honestly you could credit to Mike McCarthy because Mike McCarthy's been known he was a quarterback coach at one point. So he's known for developing quarterbacks. But I feel like there had to have been some sort of thing because they can't just run it back again and expect everything to just magically fix itself because I don't think it will. Because after a while, emotions and stuff play a factor. If you lose all the time in the playoffs, eventually you're going to say, man, hopefully I can overturn this curse I have in the playoffs. If you just go in with that mindset, that's not a good thing.
Well, yeah, underachieving teams in the playoffs are very frustrating. Trust me, I'm dealing with that on my side of the ledger. But you got to remember, these are the playoffs. So, I mean, you have the 7 best teams in the NFC. And, yeah, usually number 7 has never beaten number 2 since they went to 7 teams. This is the first time. But it wasn't like the Packers are a bad team. They've, like you said earlier, they went through growing pains. They've actually been kind of fighting their stride lately. They've been playing very well down the stretch.
Well, I would agree with you. But still, when you have Super Bowl aspirations, I don't think a team like Green Bay should be a team you should be able to beat. Because then what happens if they play San Francisco?
Technically, you should be able to beat every team in the playoffs. I mean, you should be able to beat every team in the NFL. But sometimes if you're off or, maybe Mike McCarthy has tendencies, as a coach that the other team picked up on, as far as game calling, because he's offensive coordinator there still too, isn't he?
Yeah, because he said Kellen Moore doesn't run the ball enough, and then they were making a big comment about how Dak throws the ball 58 times a game, and they still don't run the ball.
They sent him off to the Chargers, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, and yeah, if I was a Cowboy fan, I'd be very upset. But this is the playoffs, and not every team's going to win, and. It's just, it might be just a little bit of philosophy change here or there, some personnel. But really, what really showed to me was the Cowboy defense might have been a little bit of a farce this year. Because you have Micah Parsons, but basically the Packers stymied him all day. Had 2 guys on him. Excuse me. Had a straight up block, and they were one guy over the top, a tight end or running back, helping the block or chip or whatever. And he became basically a non-factor. And so then you rely on the rest of the Cowboys to step up, and they just couldn't do it. And, these young Packer receivers just made the Cowboy DBs just look a little step slow. And
even if they did.
Like I said, Jordan Love was really efficient. He was on his game. And so when you have that combination, and like I said, you get down 27-0, it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to start gripping a little bit because the tendency is to try to get all those points back in a big play here, big play there. Hey, if we can score in a couple plays, then there's not much time going off the clock. We're scoring. We got to stop them, get the ball back, try to get a big play. So when you get down that much, your game plan kind of goes out the window. And really, nobody has a game plan for being down 27-0.
Well, I think the fact that they got down 27-0 says a lot about the coaching. And I would agree with you if this was Mike McCarthy's first year. Oh, sometimes we just don't play well. But it's happened. This is the 4th year now. So, I mean, it's happened. I think they should make a change if they really feel committed to winning a Super Bowl. I think because the Cowboys fan base, they're fucking crazy. Like if you're just going to go stick with the status quo, I feel like that's not doing anything.
One thing about Jerry Jones, he'll go out and spend some money on free agents and what have you this summer to try to better the team. So there's no doubt there. Tony Pollard was disappointing all year, but they probably need some line help on both sides and some more linebackers. I mean, they'll sign some people, but I mean, coaching can be part of it, but you can only do so much. You can call the defense, you can call the play you want run, but if the team can't execute it or the other team's out executing you, there's not a whole lot you can do once the game started. I mean, you can make some adjustments, but still, your guys have to perform. And Dak just wasn't on, wasn't on his game like he had been, especially like we said, with his connection with CeeDee Lamb that just wasn't there.
So you think this is more of a player fault than a coaching fault?
I'd say it's 50-50 split. I mean, I don't really see one side really being more responsible than the other. Okay. Personally.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree then, I guess, because I think this is more of a coaching collapse. The fact that all three phases of the game were terrible, and they were terrible for the first half. But I think.
Well, these are the same coaches that got them to the 12-5 and the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, and then they lose every year in the playoffs, first round. They're always a first round exit.
But this is a whole new staff, so how can it be a coaching issue all those years?
Mike McCarthy's been there for 4 years. And Dan Quinn's been there for like 3 years. So I don't know about their offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore, they kind of blamed him. And then Mike McCarthy assumed the role, and it hasn't changed. So.
Well, he's always got that big laminated piece of paper all rolled up in his hand.
I know, and then they always show it's like the Waffle House menu. All of the memes. No, but then I want to give
smothered and covered.
I want to give credit to my Packers. I had the beanie on, but it was hot, so I took it off before we started recording. I also thought it was funny that like the first play of the game, Aaron Jones got stuffed for like 2 yards by like DeMarcus Lawrence. And they said that's going to be a name you hear a lot today, DeMarcus Lawrence, if they're going to be competitive. And then you never heard DeMarcus Lawrence's name ever again. Or even that pass rush you were talking about, too. They got, like, a few people in there eventually. The offensive line played very well for Green Bay. But even when they did support a rush, there's, like, 5 guys running right open for Green Bay. Musgrave's touchdown, there was no one within 20 yards of him. Dobbs had, like, a 40-yard play where there was no one around him, so. All right, whatever. So.
That's the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's the Cowboys. Oh, sorry, I'll do one more sound there. This is Mike McCarthy. This is what they should do with him. Flush him down the road. But anyways, if they want to stick with Mike McCarthy, keep the status quo, losing the first round every year, I'm okay with it because I don't like the Cowboys. So we'll make fun of their downfall like we do every year. So I'm okay with it.
Sorry about our technical difficulties there. We seemed to have that figured out. We apologize.
My speakers
can
almost
happen
blew
when
up.
you're live, recording live. That is.
Yeah, one of my speakers decided to almost blow up. So, but anyways, we're going to talk about the Rams and the Lions.
Yeah,
next.
Rams and Lions. Lions got off to a hot start. Exciting. The place was going nuts, and then Matthew Stafford and the Rams started kind of coming back and made a game of it. Detroit had a hard time stopping it, but luckily in the second half they were able to hold the Rams to field goals.
Yeah, most of the game the red zone trips weren't too fruitful.
So
to say,
it was 21-17 at half, and then the Rams outscored the Lions 6-3 in the second half. So a lot of fireworks in the first half, but not much in the second half. But yeah, it was tight there till the very end for the Lions, and they survived and were able to take the knee on the last couple of minutes of the game and celebrate, and very exciting. Very happy for them. Played really well. Goff was 22-27 for 277 and a touch.
A touch.
Running game was pretty good. Montgomery 14 for 57. Thank you. Amon-Ra St. Brown 7 for 110. So he showed up. Jahmyr Gibbs played pretty well, and the defense played just well enough. Matthew Stafford was pretty good. 25 for 36 for 367, 2 touches. Kyrie Williams had 61 yards, but they kind of held him in check, and then he ended up getting injured and didn't play at the end of the game, which kind of made a little bit of a difference. Mm-hmm. Now, Puka Nacua was the man. He balled out for the Rams. 9 for 181 and a touch. Didn't get much out of Cooper Kupp, 5 for 27. And those guys are usually kind of a 1-2 punch. And looks like Stafford was just kind of looking for Puka the whole way, and he produced. So why wouldn't you? So
I guess if he's like the Cooper Kupp's kind of the main one. So I feel like most of the time, if you have a dynamic number 2, they always seem to be more of the productive person.
Yep.
No, but like you said, I think the Lions start off. I think they scored touchdowns on both their first drives. They were going crazy down the field scoring, and then by the time the Rams kind of got under themselves and started playing some good defense, I think the key thing for the game was that the Rams were able to get down to the red zone, but they couldn't really cash in on anything. Yeah. They held the field goals most of the game. So credit to the Lions defense because they talked about that secondary is very young, and that's kind of their weak point. But they were able to hold up and keep the Rams at bay. So it was a close game, especially after the first 3 games were all like blowouts. So it's kind of nice to see a close game at one point.
Yeah.
But then I think it's just awesome for the city. Now they get to host another game because the Packers beat the Cowboys, so they get to be at home. Now they're playing Tampa Bay.
Which I'd say they're probably the favorites.
Yes, probably. And then there was Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown were doing the after game with the NBC lady. I can't think of her name because it's not what's her face anymore. It's someone else. But everyone in the crowd you could see was like still there. They're all celebrating. Like no one was leaving. It was like we're going to take this moment and enjoy it. So
yeah, it was awesome. I was more than happy for the Detroit to win.
Yeah, especially because shout out to Steve, our friend, who's a Lions fan, and always says they're going to have a.
He never listens, but hey, Steve.
Yes, but we'll still shout him out because we like Steve. But
mostly
good. Even the NFC North rival, you always just kind of feel bad for the Lions because they I was about to say Al Roker. Mike Tirico. I was going to say Al Michaels, but then Al Roker, and then I was thinking of the wrong person. Sorry. Mike Tirico said
whether or not you wanted to or not. Get it? Al Roker does the weather.
Okay. I didn't do that again. But no, he made the point about it's the same old Lions, so you feel bad for him. But then Dan Campbell came in, changed everything. And Jared Goff even said, I kind of felt bad about myself with the Rams getting out there. And Dan Campbell and the coaching staff kind of won me back. He got my fire back under me. And we'll talk about in a bit, there was another player that got their fire back under them. And they looked pretty good on Monday night. But we won't talk about that. So, shout out the Lions. If the Packers don't win, I'm rooting for the Lions.
Yeah, me too.
So,
that's my NFC pick. I mean, I know I picked San Francisco, but I'd love to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. That'd be awesome.
The sentimental pick.
Kind of like the Cubs, when the Cubs finally made it. Those many years ago.
Of
course, now the Cubs are more insufferable. They used to be like the lovable losers. Now they actually think they're supposed to do something, and it's like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. I'm just never really was a Cubs fan.
Well, your grandpa was.
That's true.
But it was more so after you moved there.
Yeah.
But, they attended a bunch of games. But like I said, when you're in the midst of it, it's hard not to get caught up in it,
That's true.
A lot of people they worked with, were Cubs fans. And, back in the day, you could always watch the games at WGN. So you could actually, be more involved. Since they were retired, he could watch the games all the time.
Yeah. I think it's because I'm a Red Sox fan. We both have the oldest stadium where they think theirs is more popular than ours, but it's not. Ours is better. And then they always had their curse, but we had our curse too.
Down the gauntlet.
And they're the ones. So we just feel sorry for us. We'll used to feel sorry for us because we're the Red Sox. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like the same thing, but the Cubs are just not as good at doing it than Boston. So I think that's why I don't really like them. But who knows? Well, anyways, next game we're talking about football. The Bills and the Steelers. I'll let you. I saw your diatribe online about
my diatribe.
You complain about the referees.
Well,
if you want to go into the Steelers game.
Well, that's not the reason they lost, but there was some questionable officiating.
Well, I feel like that's always kind
Pittsburgh just got off to the worst start you could get off to. Couple turnovers. Bills are up 14-0, and then you're just uphill climb the whole way.
Yeah.
But credit to the Steelers, they kind of righted themselves. Had a good drive going. Got down there, first and goal, had a run play at Najee, got stuffed for a couple yards. So then they call a pass play. Well, Mason Rudolph just expected this play to be open. You could tell he dropped back and just threw it out to the side of the end zone. It got picked off by the Buffalo Bills and snuffed out that drive. They had Pittsburgh kind of righted this ship, calmed down, put a good drive together. And you score a touchdown there, it's 14-7. Anybody's ball game. But, he just anticipated that throw, didn't really look, threw it, got picked. So then you had the battle, blocked the field goal attempt, ran that back, got a good situation, scored, got it to 21-7, got it back to 24-17 at one point, by playing really well and playing good defense. And then just kind of tires fell off a little bit, a couple of questionable calls. kept giving the Bills first downs, and then Jared Allen had this run where I think he fake slid or started to fake slide, and then when he saw the guy kind of pull up, he took off running again. Now I saw a Bills account where they put out a bunch of different times where he like deked and stuff. He goes, see, he wasn't trying to fake slide, he was deking. But I even watching the game real time with my half brother Patrick, I said he did a fake slide there. But I will say, you can maybe look this up. I don't know if fake slide's illegal in the NFL. I know it's illegal in NCAA now because I think was it Baker Mayfield that did it in a game?
It was Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So, hey, whose fault is it?
Yeah. So Kenny Pickett did it in a game in college and then went on running. But I called that right at the restaurant. I said, that was a fake slide. I said, I don't think you can do that.
There's an article that says NFL fans are demanding a rule change now.
Well, so
it's not in
it's
rule
not a
yet.
rule, but it's tough because as we saw later when Allen slid on a play and Miles Jack hit him with the shoulder in his shoulder, and even though Jared Allen's head went back, it wasn't a dirty hit, and he kind of rolled off and threw his hands up, and they threw the flag. Now I'm under the impression, why can't you review that? That's a big play. It's a 15-yard play. You're keeping the Buffalo drive alive, and it really wasn't malicious at all. But just because Allen's head went back, they called it. And then I'll get into this other thing where everybody goes running looking for the calls now, which drives me nuts. Because there was a situation in the Chiefs game where they thought Mahomes got hit late, and one of the linemen was running back, throwing his hands in the air. And I'm just like, just quit begging for the calls. I mean, that's how Tom Brady was at the end of his career, always begging for the calls. It drives me nuts. That's what the refs are for. If it's there, they'll call it. If it's not, you don't have to go calling for it. I mean, and Chiefs get more calls than any team out there right now. I mean, when Brady was the face of the league, he was getting the calls. Well, now it's Patrick Mahomes, so they got to protect him. He's the face of the league now, so they get more calls. You might not agree with that, but it's fact. It's what it is.
There's the diatribe I was talking about.
Thank you. But
I'm kidding.
But it was disappointing. I felt bad because I thought they played well enough and came back, and they had a chance to really have a shot to win. And just a couple bad plays, and like I said, they put themselves in a hole, getting down early, and so it sucked. But I wasn't expecting much. I predicted Buffalo to win. I actually had, I think I said 27-17. It was 31-17. So it was about kind of what I expected. So, but definitely missed having T.J. Watt out there. He's NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Not having that guy, you got to account for him. And when you don't have him there, it doesn't. When he's out there, you have to account for him, and so they have to give attention to him. So that leaves Highsmith and those other guys, and gives Cam and Hayward some more one-on-one blocks. Well, when he's not out there, I mean, the backups are good, but they just aren't T.J. Watt. Yeah. So you kind of hurt. And then, like I said, Pittsburgh was really decimated on the back end with their linebackers and DBs, and it just kind of showed miscommunications on a couple plays where they left the guys open, and you could see after Buffalo scored like that first touchdown, they were looking at each other like, hey, you had that guy. And so, just a young team. Mike Tomlin did say he was coming back, which I was happy about.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
After he walked out on that press conference, I thought, well, first of all, that was staged. He planned on doing that. And then I thought, well, that doesn't look good. But, excuse me.
Well,
apparently it was reported that he told the players that he was coming back next year. So I'm happy about that. I'm a Mike Tomlin fan. He does make some questionable calls, but he's a good coach. He's a strong advocate for the players. They all love him and they play hard for him. So
I agree. I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach. You probably know more about the questionable call stuff because you sit there and watch every Steelers game and see everything. Mm-hmm. But I think for more of an outside viewer, you watch. I mean, the Steelers are kind of like that thorn now, where they're like they never seem like they're that good of a team, but they always sneak into the playoffs every year and always above 500. I feel like a lot of that's for Mike Tomlin, like you said. He's a player's coach, and they play hard for him, and he gets the most out of his players.
They kind of play to the level of competition. So the stronger the team, the better they play. I mean, for example, when they lost to the two win teams, you thought, what the hell? And then they bounced back and they beat Baltimore twice this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but one questionable call is Joey Porter Jr. was tackling that receiver. He kind of got spun around. And then the Buffalo lineman came up and blocked him in the back and hit him so hard his head snapped back and he ended up getting a concussion. Now, that's at least a block in the back, if anything. I mean, because you can't hit a guy from that angle. If he can't see, you can't hit him from behind. That's just a rule throughout football. No call there. And then when the Steelers did go for fourth down, they tried to throw like a slant or something to Pickens. No call. I mean, there was at least three penalties you could have called. There was hands to the face off the initial line. They grabbed his jersey, hold him, and then they interfered with him before the ball got there. So, I mean, they could have called 3 different penalties on that play. Instead, they called nothing. But, as it is, good season by Pittsburgh. It finished 10-7. That's a pretty strong record, actually. But, yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to beat Buffalo and maybe move on. I know I had a bunch of my Chiefs friends say, we're rooting for the Steelers. And I said, well, if you're rooting for the Steelers because you think it's a better matchup for the Chiefs, I said, then I don't want you rooting for my team. I said, I don't want to hear it then. If you just think because we're going to be easier to beat than Buffalo, you can keep your cheering to yourselves.
Well, I think they would be easier to beat than Buffalo.
Hey, no.
Well, I think the better team won. Well, I'll just say that. I didn't watch the game.
Okay. So I'm doing my comment.
Okay. Well, I didn't watch the game because I was working. So I did see the night game, but what do you think? Where do you think Pittsburgh goes from here? Because their season's over. What do you think they need? Is Kenny Pickett the answer at quarterback?
I don't know. He shows flashes, so I think he's got the potential. They still need to put some pieces around him. They definitely have to get a center. Excuse me. They brought Long in, but he just isn't the answer. They got Broderick Jones, who they drafted first-round pick. They got Samalo, All-Pro. And Dan Moore on the left played a little bit better. He's still not one of the best tackles. So they need to invest in the line more. They got a great 1-2 punch with Harris and Warren. Receivers, Deontay Johnson and Pickens look really good. Firemove's been a little bit of disappointment, but excuse me, I got a little bug in my throat. He's got potential. The defense will be interesting to see what Cam Hayward does. They still need some help on the back end. They signed Patrick Peterson to a 2-year deal, but he's kind of been a disappointment. Joey Porter Jr. looks really good. Holcomb and Roberts look good at linebacker. They're free agent signings, but Holcomb unfortunately got injured, was out for the main part of the year.
Was he the one who used to play for Jacksonville?
Who?
Cole Holcomb.
He played with the Commanders.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Sorry, I got a little bug in my throat. I'm going to let Nathan talk some more.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. This is Kenny Pickett's second year, so I feel like you don't want to make too much of a drastic decision on it, but I think this will be a big year because I think the Steelers are going to need more quarterback play if they're going to want to. Because I think a lot of times their offense was more of the reason why they weren't in games. They weren't able to keep up with especially the AFC now when you got Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar.
Yeah.
Now C.J. Stroud's coming. So, I mean, with all those high-powered offenses, if Steelers want to be competitive. But the Steelers are also in kind of like Big Ben's gone. We're kind of rebuilding, but we're still kind of good. So, doing kind of that middle phase, which is also a good thing when you're rebuilding. But if you stay in that middle phase for 10 years where you're just like barely making the playoffs and then not doing anything, that's kind of not what you want to.
Well, then the problem is, 10-7 made the playoffs. Well, you're out. Now you're picking 20th. Well, any kind of franchise quarterbacks aren't going to be there at pick 20 for you.
Yeah.
So you have to try to make a big move or try to sign somebody in free agency. But if Pickett's there, are they going to do that? Definitely need to get rid of Trubisky. He's not a.
I agree.
He's not an NFL quarterback by any means. Backup or starter. Said they need some line help. They need some more pieces on defense. But the nice thing is Omar Khan has shown a propensity to spend some money where they didn't want to really spend money on free agents and what have you. Previously, they'd usually pick up cuts, get guys who were cut or what have you. But anyway, looking forward to the future of the Steelers and what they do. Like I said, I'm glad Tomlin's back, and
me too.
They'll have to decide if Pickett's the answer or not, and if he's not, they're gonna have to. They'll find out. I assume he's gonna be the guy for the next year, and then if he doesn't produce, then they're gonna have to go out and find somebody.
I think the third year, this would be a good. All right, this is your chance. If you don't do nothing, we're going to move on. Unless it's really bad and they have to. But also, I want to say, this is off topic, but I guess it's on topic, but it's different. Sorry. I was watching an NFL draft video and they had Mel Kiper talking. And it was from the Mahomes draft and they had you know how it always has his best available?
Uh-huh.
And then it kind of flips through. He had the quarterbacks from that draft. Number 1 was Trubisky. And he had Mahomes 2. And I think he had Deshaun Watson 3, and then he had Nathan Peterman 4th. And I'm like, ooh, those weren't the best looking rankings there. You
Well,
got those two guys
because
I
remember that draft because in some of the early mocks, they had the Steelers taking Mahomes like in the second round. And then here he ended up going the first mid. I think
10th.
Chiefs took him like 10th.
They traded up for him at 10th.
Yeah, so I mean, you just show how guys can evaluate their, elevate their status here, by playing and their workouts. I mean, look at Zach Wilson with the Jets. I mean, he's basically drafted number 1 because of his workouts. So.
Oh, and then when the Packers took Jordan Love, I said, man, that was a stupid pick. And now look at me, I look like an idiot.
You do.
But I think that was more of I wanted Rodgers to have his final Super Bowl with Green Bay. And the way they got their ass kicked in that championship game, they should have helped the run defense. But, I mean, now, 3 years later, I can say I was wrong. And they saw Jordan Love and how good he could be, and look at him now. He's looking pretty damn good. So, I'm okay with it. I'm okay to admit I was wrong. The A.J. Dillon and the Josiah DeGuara pick afterwards was still pretty stupid, but that's a different type.
Well, it was a rough weekend in Philadelphia.
Jesus, yes.
Or Pennsylvania, excuse me, as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia both lost. I just didn't see that kind of performance coming. I mean, Tampa Bay just pretty much had the Eagles covered. They came out and just stacked the line trying to stop the Eagles' run game and just, dared the Eagles to throw. And, of course, not having A.J. Brown made that game plan a lot easier.
And they kept talking about Jalen Hurts' middle finger he had a glove on because his finger was hurt.
Oh.
But I feel, he wasn't throwing well. But the way he looks, I feel like there's something else that he's not,
You got something else?
Because I know Troy Aikman kind of alluded to it. I think there's some probably underlying injury because Jalen Hurts just hasn't looked good the last 5 weeks. And now there's a conversation where people are talking about coaching too with Sirianni.
Yeah. If
he's going to get canned because they start. But
did you see that guy threw that bucket of popcorn on him when he was going off the field?
I did see something about that.
And they came up to get him?
Yeah. No, but the secondary for the Eagles just looks terrible. And then it was funny because they were 10-0, and then those defensive struggles changed right when
they're 10-1 and lost 6 of their last 7.
Yes, and then that was right when they put Matt Patricia as the new defensive coordinator, but not really the defensive coordinator. And then after that, they've been god awful. So I mean, there was kind of we talked about how Mike McCarthy could have just been a bad player day or whatever, but that there's a coaching situation right there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to shout out Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I know we said I predicted the Eagles to win, and not just because I thought they were great. I just thought the Buccaneers have been real inconsistent. I mean, didn't they get shut out 3 or 4 times this year?
They lost. They beat the Panthers 9-0 with 3 field goals.
So I just didn't see this kind of performance. My mic keeps turning. I just didn't see this kind of performance coming from the Buccaneers. And the Eagles have a pretty good defense, so I was really shocked the way that things went.
No, but
it's like the Dallas game. Sorry. Sometimes when something just starts snowballing, it's hard to stop it.
Well, to talk about that secondary for Philadelphia's been really bad in the last 4 weeks, and they did look really bad. The tackling was the big thing. There's a lot of plays where they were I think there was a screen to Rachaad White. It was 3rd and 5, the first drive. Okay. And they get the ball to him, and he's a yard behind, and there's a DB right there. And instead of I hate when they stand there and they kind of oh, which way you going? Mm-hmm. They stop when you should just crash on the guy and tackle him, because Rachaad White ended up juking 2 guys in the first down, and all game Trey Palmer had that big touchdown.
Oh yeah,
but he ran through 4 DBs that just took awful angles at it. They just didn't look like they were they didn't want to be physical, go out there and tackle anybody, hit anyone. Their angles were really bad. Jalen Hurts didn't look good. A.J. Brown being out's a big thing. But besides that one bomb to Devontae Smith, they didn't do anything.
Yes. DeAndre Swift only won for 34 yards, and they only had 10 carries. So they pretty much abandoned the run game from the get-go. So
I think the same thing. This was kind of more of a coaching thing than anything for both NFC East teams. Look at that, the big NFC East juggernauts both.
Oh, K-Dot finally had a decent game. I could have used that.
Yes, but Baker Mayfield, I think, was a highlight that should be talked about more. Yes, he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but Aikman also said this too. Troy Aikman was preaching a lot last night, apparently. Yeah. Baker kind of
hallelujah.
He kind of had a rough thing at the end in Cleveland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was hurt, and then they were using the run game a lot. They weren't successful, and they got rid of him. And they got traded to Carolina, and he didn't play well in Carolina. But if you look at Carolina now, I mean, is that really saying more about Baker Mayfield than that crappy organization that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't look good. But then he went to the Rams, remember? And he had that big, like, Thursday night comeback against, I think it was Seattle. Well, they were down like 17-3 in the fourth, and he came back and they won. And he said McVay told him to play with that swagger again. Because I think the as you move my Coke Zero, the Baker Mayfield came in out of Oklahoma going into Cleveland was the guy that was kind of cocky. He has the swagger to him. He'll talk some shit if he has to. And he's rough. And I think that's the best Baker Mayfield. And he said when he got to Tampa Bay, they just allowed him to be himself. And he's being himself. And he played very well this year. So just shout out. I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's a good guy. You may not, some people may rub him the wrong way the way he plays the game. But I think if you play with that swag and you be yourself, I think that's the best Baker. And Tampa Bay's letting him do it. And he looked very good. So it's good to see. I hope they keep him around because he's kind of like a 1-year deal. Hopefully they bring him back. And hopefully this could be a place for him because I think people kind of given up on him when he was in Carolina, and then he had that falling out with Cleveland. But now he looks pretty good. Hopefully he stays consistent in the league.
He's got a cap friendly contract, so I don't know if he's due for arbitration or what. I'm not sure what his contract status is, but why not bring him back? I mean, he's a good fit there, and the team's rallied around him. So
then they still have a lot of weapons, and then that defense is. I mean, the older, but that defense is still good. That Tom Brady's first year, the defense was what keeping them around while they're kind of gelling. And then once Tom Brady and them hit their stride right when the playoffs started, they end up winning the damn Super Bowl. So
they're going to Detroit now, right?
Next round? Yes, they're going to Detroit.
Well, and that'll be a nice matchup for them. I mean, I'm rooting for Detroit, but as we talked about earlier, Detroit's secondary is a little iffy. So I mean, they're definitely going to be challenged.
Yeah. So I mean, I think for the Eagles, I don't know if they want to hit the panic button just yet on Nick Sirianni. Because is this his second year or is his third year? I think it's his third year.
They were just in the
Super Bowl. And they're just 10-1.
Well, the main thing is his offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator left. And
both of them did, didn't they?
That's what I just said. His offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator both left.
I thought you said his offensive or his defensive coordinator just left.
No, I'm more informed than that.
Oh, okay. You're the same person that didn't know who Jordan Montgomery was. That's our running joke in this league. You didn't know about Jordan Montgomery.
That's not a running joke.
For me, it is.
Oh.
You said we don't need to talk about those guys like that. I said he was an all-star this year.
So anyway, I forgot my train of thought. But
they lost the offensive and defensive coordinator.
So Sirianni just kind of brought a couple people in and basically tried to run it back with the same people, and it just didn't work. But injuries, of course, always play a part. AJ Brown, as we said, didn't play. Hurts was injured a little bit.
Hurts was hurt.
So and it's just the last we've seen of Jason Kelsey. He hasn't said anything yet, but we'll find out. And from the way he talked on his podcast with his brother, it's kind of he kind of got emotional when he's talking about it, even though he just said he hasn't committed. So it kind of seems like to me maybe this is it for him.
Well, he looked he looked emotional when he was.
And so if it is, great career for him. I mean, too bad they couldn't win it last year, but good guy, good family man, and
Well, and then they're saying Fletcher Cox may be up for
Brandon Graham,
all the veteran guys. So it's kind of scary for Philadelphia. It's just kind of their window to do something. I talked about it after they lost Super Bowl last year and all those expiring contracts.
They still have their offensive pieces. I mean, mostly it's with their defenses they're going to have to try to shore up.
Which look really bad, so.
But they're a little bit aging on the line, the defensive line, what have you. So an influx of talent might do them well.
Hopefully. So I like the Eagles.
Yeah,
it's funny. I'm not a big fan of Philly teams, but the Eagles are ones I don't really mind.
EAGLES.
Well, it helps they have that good fight song. Like if I wasn't a Packers fan, I may root for the Eagles.
And the Philly captain roots for him.
We don't care about him. I shout out Philly captain and Canada.
Hey,
but if I wasn't a Packers fan, I may choose the Eagles because they have that good fight song. So, do you care to make a prediction for the divisional games?
We had our original predictions, and
but those are kind of out the window already.
Yeah. So, I like the Lions and the 49ers.
What? Not the Packers?
Sorry. I picked the 49ers at the beginning of the year. I'm sticking with it.
Well, I picked the 49ers. I picked the Cowboys to beat the Packers.
And I'm going to take the Bills at home over the Chiefs. This is the first time they've had them at home. And then I see Baltimore beating the Texans. Those are my picks for next week.
You said who's winning, the Chiefs or the Bills?
I said the Bills.
The Bills in Buffalo.
Thanks for listening.
Sorry, you cut me off when I was trying to say
I didn't
something.
cut you off.
Yes, you did.
You weren't listening when I talked.
10 seconds back, please. What I was trying to say something about the Packers, and he just kept going. Like I was trying to say, I picked Dallas to beat the Packers, and the Packers kicked their ass. I'm gonna pick the 49ers to beat the Packers. I'm just gonna root against.
You're trying to reverse jinx it?
Yes, I will. I'm gonna do a Skip Bayless. I also have the Lions. Hopefully, the secondary thing kind of scares me too with them, but hopefully they can put more of an offensive performance than freaking Philadelphia did. I picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl, so now I gotta stick with the Bills. And I think at home in Buffalo, and the Chiefs
Super Bowl.
I like how you made a comment that we made too many sounders last week, and you keep hitting that thing.
He said you made too many sounders. He didn't say nothing about me.
Oh, okay. So,
Burn.
The Chiefs were still kind of inconsistent offensively most of the year. Rasheed Rice had a big game too. We didn't talk about that.
You mentioned him last week.
I said he would have to be big, and he was.
Yeah, he was big. And Pacheco had a good game. He only got 89 yards and 18 carries, but he was a factor, and that's what they needed. To keep the defense honest.
That's the new look Chiefs. They're going to run through Pacheco. And if Pacheco's playing so well and they have to account for that, that's just going to make Mahomes even more scary. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you draft him another weapon, they'll be unbeatable.
He's got a full helmet this week, so he's ready to go.
And I'm pulling for Baltimore over the Texans. It's nice to see Chase Stroud played really well, but I want Lamar Jackson to be successful because I like Lamar Jackson a lot. And I feel like if he would, I know you're a Steelers fan, so you don't like the Ravens, but I think if Lamar Jackson was to come in and lose to the Texans in the first round, they're going to have some serious conversations about him. And I hope they don't because I think he's really good. He's probably the MVP this year. And he just seems like a good guy.
I think it's kind of over an exaggeration. Like I said, I think you're putting too much stock into like a one game.
It's the playoffs.
Well, it's one.
You're trying to win the Super Bowl.
Well, no shit.
It's the game.
Sometimes you're going to have a bad game and things aren't going to go the way
he lost to the
freaking
Texans. The Texans. The Titans.
But sometimes I think having the bye isn't an advantage because you're not playing, and if you're sharp and playing well at the end of the year, having that week off, sometimes you want to keep playing and keep the momentum going.
I just said the Eagles should keep Sirianni because it was just the first year they had a bad performance. Mike McCarthy was 12-5 for 3 straight years, and they lose in the playoffs in the first round every year. When they keep talking about how they're going to win the Super Bowl and it's going to be glorious, and they never do it, and they look like shit because Mike McCarthy didn't probably game plan them well. He should be booted. Lamar Jackson,
he's coming back.
Lamar Jackson hasn't played well in the playoffs his whole career, so he's a great player, but he needs to do it then. Everyone talks about, LeBron James is 3-7 in the finals, blah, blah, blah. And they always, even though he's one of the best players ever, it's always the playoffs is what they talk about. That means something. It's not just one game. It's the games. So I had to hear about when Aaron Rodgers was there, he's 1-6 in NFC Championship games. And I fucking had, every time they showed that stupid stat, I'm like, oh my God. They keep talking about it because it's all they talk about. It's not just one game. I don't put too much stock. It is the stock.
There's Nathan's diatribe.
You called me out, so.
Called you out, called you in, called you my brother.
If I'm overreacting, let us know in the comments. Or you can tweet us at FIntentionspod. Or if you rate us 5 stars on Spotify, you can also leave a review that says, I agree with Nathan's diatribe. So.
Finishing up in the NFL, a little coaching news. Right before we went off the air last week, we mentioned that Bill Belichick had decided probably wasn't going to be coming back.
Right off the air.
As we went off the air.
Yeah, well, right after we went off the air.
Yes.
That's what I meant to say.
That's what I did say.
No, but you corrected me.
Well, because I thought you were trying to correct me, and I was just saying
I was just struggling with the English language because I do that a lot.
Yes. So the Patriots, Robert Kraft, and Bill Belichick mutually agreed to part ways.
Doing this podcast.
Hey, get your arm off me. And they quickly hired Gerard Mayo.
Yeah, quickly.
Coach on the staff as head coach. So apparently a lot of respect for him. Jim Harbaugh's out there. He has an interview with the LA Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. As of today, I think he interviewed. Bill Belichick has interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons also. I haven't heard anything official, but I'm guessing Antonio Pierce is going to stay as the Raiders coach. We thought maybe Belichick might end up there. We thought possibly Dallas. Now both those are off the table. Some people said maybe if Pittsburgh made a change. Well, they're not making a change. So you have those jobs open out there, and right now you have Belichick, Harbaugh, and Mike Vrabel as 3 strong candidates to end up in any of those jobs. And if any of those teams ended up with any of those 3 coaches, I think they'd all be doing well.
I was shocked when I saw Mike McCarthy was staying because I figured Jerry Jones would jump the gun on a Belichick or a Harbaugh. Because Jerry Jones, like you said, with free agency, he's the kind of guy that's just going to go after the biggest name and be like, boom, we're going to go win the Super Bowl.
Well, maybe he reached out to Belichick, and Belichick's agent said he wasn't interested in going there. Because I will say, because whoever hires Belichick could have to give him almost
anything he wants,
100% control, and Jerry Jones isn't going to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
His team. So maybe, he might have talked and said, well, I need this and this, and Jerry Jones said, well, I'm not going to do that. So then they kept McCarthy. I mean, that could be the backstory.
Which I feel like Atlanta is definitely probably a place where you would go do that. I feel like Atlanta would just give them the keys to do everything.
Yeah.
And then I kept saying all the memes because they posted, it's not tweeting anymore, that we interviewed Bill Belichick. And they said, no, Bill Belichick interviewed you guys.
Yeah.
And then they kept making 28-3 memes. So, and I also heard Jim Harbaugh in his NFL negotiations, he's asking for immunity if there's any NCAA probes saying he was eligible for the sign stealing and he gets suspended or whatever. They said he wants like immunity from that.
Yeah, I saw something where him and Michigan were working on some kind of deal for that.
So interesting.
Hey, we did bury the lead a little bit. This is episode 37, and we got to discuss who we're going to dedicate the pod to. We kind of skimmed over that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I was doing right at the end.
I want to talk a little bit about college coaching, but real quick, number 37. Our candidates are Doak Walker, SMU running back that won the Heisman in 1948. Got several awards named after him.
Cool.
Such as the Doak Walker Award.
So I heard 1948 and I spaced out.
Yeah. Carnell Lake, DB, played for the Steelers many years. Rodney Harrison.
I know who that is.
Lester Hayes.
I know who that is.
Famous DB for the Raiders, Hall of Famer.
Well, I've heard the name. Maybe I didn't know.
Sean Alexander. Running back out of Alabama, played for the Seahawks for many years.
Yeah, I think so.
And then my odds-on favorite, or who I think we should go with, is Joe Delaney. He's an old Chiefs running back, and he's the one he was the two-time All-American, and was the Rookie of the Year, AFC Rookie of the Year in 1981. And in 1983, he drowned while trying to rescue 3 kids who had swimming in a pond in Monroe, Louisiana. And he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal from Ronald Reagan.
Oh, well, that sounds like a great guy. Let's go with him.
And even though his jersey number is not officially retired, it has not been worn since his death.
Well, that sounds like a great story to me. Let's choose him.
Okay. So we'll go with Joe Delaney, episode 37 here for Fast Intentions.
Yes.
I guess this is news in the pros, but what do Brett Favre and Tony Dungy have in common?
They're both quarterbacks.
No, Tony Dungy was a defensive back.
I know he was a coach. I didn't know. I also know he's a coach. I know more as a coach than as a defensive back.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of 1948 too, weren't you like 30 back then?
No.
Okay, sorry. What's the sound is again?
That's for you.
Okay. I don't know. What's the difference?
They're both not big fans of Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Did you see this?
No.
Tony Dungy, while being interviewed, was asked specifically about Taylor Swift's impact on the NFL. And he said her involvement was disenchanting people with sports now. And then he went on to say there's so much more on the outside coming in, entertainment value and different things that take away from what really happens on the field. So he was saying that she's a distraction and she's not good for the state of football and the fans of the NFL. And then Brett Favre went on to basically say that if the Chiefs lose and don't make the playoff, make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, it's basically her fault because she's a distraction and she's keeping Travis Kelce from being his best player he can be.
Well, Brett Favre coming in with another bad take. That's not shocking these days.
Yeah. But did you? A lot of people are hating on the video. Did you see the video of Taylor in the press box? And
they're doing like
and they're all,
yeah.
And I like Taylor Swift. I'm not a big Swiftie, but I thought that was pretty cool. That they're in there. She's got everybody in the press. Who knows if she started? I mean, but everybody in the press box is swinging. All the fans are sitting in front of the press box seat going. So they're all. I mean, it looked like they're having a good time. What the hell? Why can't you have fun in the press box? Just because you're a famous person doesn't mean you got to sit there and just look all stoked all game. You can't smile or have fun. I mean, I don't get it. And like she said, she goes, she has no control of how many times she's shown on TV. I mean, did you see her at the Golden Globe Awards where that host made a joke about her being on TV so much, and she just kind of basically gave him the ice cold stare, and then his whole monologue thing just went down the pipe after that.
Well, I didn't watch those awards, so I don't know who was the host.
Some comedian, Joe Choi or something like that, or Jimmy Choi or something. I don't know, but apparently a bunch of people have turned it down, and so he's like a comic that's been selling out arenas and stuff, and so they brought him in, but. Hosting a show and doing a gig in a stadium is a whole different ball of wax. And apparently from what I heard, he didn't get his material written up till like late in the day, the day of the Globes, and so he was really struggling to get everybody together to get his material and get his act together, his performance together. So
sounds like a bunch of hoopla.
It sounds like a bunch of hoopla.
How do we always talk about Taylor Swift on this podcast?
Oh, that's because she's in the news.
Okay.
I mean, if we can't help it, if people are coming after her.
Oh, also, do you want to talk? I didn't mention this already. We want to talk about how you got baited by Pat McAfee because you said he wasn't going to be on the show anymore, and literally the next day, Aaron Rodgers was on the show.
Well, I didn't get baited. That's what he said. Pat McAfee said he's basically was done. He was happy to be done with all that because he didn't like being involved in that kind of controversy. About who said what or who did what or this or that. And so he was glad to be done with it. And then, literally the next day, Aaron Rodgers was back on. Again.
Yeah, before the podcast uploaded.
Yeah.
But it's because, you got baited because he was trolling. He wasn't he was seriously oh, we're not going to have him. And then he put him on just to piss people off.
Oh,
well, at least I would think so. But he said he wasn't to piss him off. He just wanted to get his reaction to Bill Belichick. And he was serious that, his team's out, so he's not going to be on every Tuesday anymore.
Yeah.
But whatever. I just want to talk about how right after that. And now, there was another thing we said wrong. And I was going to bring it up, but now I don't remember what it was. We said something incorrectly, and I said, that was wrong. We should probably correct that. But I don't remember what it was.
Huh.
Oh, it was... Fuck, what was it? It's something about a football, and we said someone was out or whatever, and then they weren't. Oh, Brandon Staley. We said Brandon Staley was still the coach of the Chargers. He was fired in December, early.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so he's still he's not their coach.
Well, I said I hadn't seen any news on it, so I knew they had been interviewing people, but I didn't know if he had officially been let go.
Which is funny because we were just talking about how Jim Harbaugh was interviewing with the Chargers, but yet we couldn't we couldn't put two and two together. So Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers would be good. Now that I think about it, now that Brandon Staley's not there, so
yeah. Well, the pros aren't the only ones making coaching moves. We had a bunch of moves in the college game too, as Nick Saban officially retired, which we talked about last pod. But the Crimson Tide moved quick and brought in Washington's Kalen DeBoer to take over there. And then almost just as quick, Washington moved to bring in Jed Fish from Arizona, good upcoming coach. And then Arizona moved and got Brent Brennan from a lower level college. And I can't remember if it was. I can't remember the exact name of the college. I want to say San Jose State, but I'm not sure if that's right. So I don't want to say that specifically. But he's moved on to Arizona. So several dominoes fall. Once Saban retired and they brought other guys in. So there'll still be changes made. Once there's a coaching change like that, the transfer portal opens up for 30 days. So you see several Alabama Crimson Tide players and recruits, either decommitting or jumping in the portal right now. So a lot of people coming after these guys, trying to get them to come to their campuses. And these are big time recruits, 4- and 5-star players. Some have only been in Alabama a year or two. So still got a lot of development they can have going forward and help a program, maybe get a program over the hump. If it's the right player.
Oh, and what hat are you wearing?
I'm wearing my Steelers draft day hat from 3 years ago. I think it is.
And what shirt are you wearing?
I'm wearing my Husker shirt.
Well,
the Husker pullover.
Didn't Nebraska just hire a coach from the Steelers?
Yeah, Glenn Thomas. He was the quarterback coach there in Pittsburgh, and now he's the quarterback coach at Nebraska. And excuse me, Marcus Satterfield stays offensive coordinator, but he's coaching the tight ends, which was the original plan when they put the staff together. But something fell through, so then they had Satterfield coach quarterbacks. So this Thomas has been with Matt Rule several stops along the way in his career. So has some big name quarterbacks associated with him and his coaching, and have done real well. He's even worked with Matt Ryan, So good hire for that. Dylan Raiola, the 5-star recruit for Nebraska, was well aware of who Glenn Thomas was, and a lot of positive things to say about him. And I'm sure they made sure that he was all right with that, and as well as his dad.
We gotta make Raiola happy. He's gotta stay.
So if you're a big fan of Dylan Raiola, they're playing in the Polynesian Bowl, which takes place tomorrow night as we record on Wednesday evening, and it airs on the NFL Network. And there's 3 Nebraska recruits playing there.
Carter Nelson's playing.
Carter Nelson, and the lineman from Hawaii, and I won't try to pronounce his name because I'll butcher it. But so yeah, if you're interested in watching some of the future Huskers play, tune in and watch that. And then I think Dylan Raiola by Monday will be here on campus taking classes.
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, pretty quick turnaround. So yeah, that's from all accounts, that's a great hire by Nebraska, and something that's been rumored for quite a while because he's had an association or affiliation with Matt Rule. So strong candidate, from people speculating about the possibility. But it's also Matt Rule fulfilling his promise to try to shore up the weaknesses from Nebraska this year. And the first year is always kind of a learning year, and so you kind of self-evaluate. So Matt Rule has an idea where his weaknesses are and what the Huskers' needs are, and going out and have a quarterback coach specifically to work with the quarterbacks, hence the name quarterback coach, should help make great strides, especially when you got a young guy just coming into the program. And because the jump from high school to college is a pretty big step, no matter how highly rated you are. So, and also Danny Kaelin will be there, so he'll profit from having this specific coach for his position there as well. And we'll see how Satterfield does as a tight end coach. He's got Fedoni and Bokacher and some talent there he can work with. So we'll see if he can develop those guys. I apologize if I keep turning for some reason my microphone keeps turning away from me. So
well, I think it helps. I
have to pay more attention to that.
It doesn't help that we keep turning towards each other to talk too.
Well, yeah.
All right. Well, do you have anything else on the docket?
Just a nugget or two, but otherwise I'm good. Do you have anything over there?
There was an NBA trade that happened today.
Well, that was my nugget. Then
let's just save it.
It was just rumored. I hadn't heard if it actually went down yet or not.
It did, I believe.
Okay. So you can bring it up. That's fine.
Well, let's just save it for the nugget section.
Okay. You got any nuggets?
It's a ranch to go with it. It's a barbecue. No, I do have a couple nuggets.
Okay.
We can share the one nugget.
The nuggies?
All right, you ready to fire up the boosters?
Let's go for it. Get in the capsule.
Okay. Well, you want to go first then? I have the trade details if you want me to talk about it.
Well, I'll mention it and then you can go into details.
Okay.
The Raptors have traded Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers for 2 players and 3 first-round draft picks.
Oh, I have 3 players and 3 first-round picks.
Maybe they've changed the deets on it. Go ahead. Tell us what you got, Nathan.
Well, it was Bruce Brown.
Who
won the championship with the Nuggets and signed with the Pacers.
Yeah.
Jordan Nwora, which was Ben's player. And then Kira Lewis from the Pelicans. The Pelicans are in this deal, too.
Oh.
It's 3 teams. So Kira Lewis is in there.
They must have had some salary cap issues maybe. They needed a third team to make it work.
Yes.
That's usually why you get a third team involved.
Yes, because I don't think the Pelicans received anything. They just threw Lewis and then a second-round pick in there to get him off their books.
Mm.
And then the Raptors got 3 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam. And then the Pacers got a second-round pick from the Pelicans for it. So I think Indiana, very excited about Tyrese Halliburton playing super well. Pacers has been kind of a young team you expected to be better, but they've been surprising a lot of people playing really well. They're in the finals of that in-season tournament for whatever that's worth, even though the Lakers won in, they're like the 10th seed. So, yeah. And I think Pascal Siakam, this is last year of his deal, but the Raptors were in this weird. They won the championship. They wanted to keep their core around, but they're just like 9th every year now. There's not really. So they got to trade their asses. They already traded OG Anunoby to the Knicks, too. We never talked about that.
Mm.
So they're getting rid of all their core pieces and building up a lot of draft capital so that they can start their full rebuild. So it's probably the best thing for Toronto. And it's a good thing for Indiana. Hopefully they can sign Pascal Siakam to a long-term deal and stay there because that's another all-star to pair up with your future all-star. Well, I think Tyrese Halliburton was an all-star last year. So 2 all-stars.
Nice. That's how you got to get it done.
Exactly. So shout out to Pacers.
Got to have at least 2.
And Spicy P.
Yeah. This is, or if I'm saying that right, VICIS, the helmet manufacturer who made Patrick Mahomes' helmet, said the helmet did its job. They said extreme conditions like those experienced in Saturday's NFL playoff game are bound to test the limits of even the highest performing products. While outer shell damage is not ideal, the 0-2 helmet did its job of protecting Patrick Mahomes during a head-to-head impact in unprecedented cold temperatures. They added that exclusive multi-layer technology employed in the Vis's 0-2 helmet model utilizes a deformable outer shell and RFLX impact absorption layer, followed by a stiff inner shell. Nathan knows about that. This design approach is similar to the crumple zone of modern cars, effectively absorbing and dispersing impact forces at the point of contact.
Wow, you spit that all out there. You had that memorized?
I did.
Well, people watch the video.
I like to look down. I like to look down when I'm doing my memorization.
Oh, okay.
Spiel. So,
if you didn't see, his helmet was like cracked because of how cold it was.
Yeah, and if you watch that play, it actually was kind of helmet-to-helmet contact. But I'm proud of the NFL not for calling it, because that's one of those situations that we talk about where the guy was coming to make a tackle and Patrick Mahomes, seeing him come to tackle, lowered himself to the level where it was head-to-head contact. So, and we see this all the time. The offensive player actually by, kind of turtling, however you want to call it, when you kind of come down and brace for impact, they actually lower themselves to the level to cause the impact, the head-to-head impact. And yet the defensive guy gets called for it. Or like when the quarterback slides late, even though the defensive guy is already in motion, the onus always goes on the defense, supposedly to stop in midair or whatever. And the offense always gets the benefit of that call. But it was a good no call by the refs, even though it looked bad because of the helmet breaking. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes, by looking to absorb the hit, lowered himself down to make that helmet contact happen. And so that isn't the defender's fault.
Hey, we should call this episode Diatribes.
Hey.
Do you know who Jerry Krause is?
Yes.
Who's Jerry Krause?
He was the former GM of the Chicago Bulls and the architect of putting the great Bulls team together. And he always thought he was kind of the face of the team.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a dumpy little goofy-looking guy.
Well, did you see the controversy about Jerry Krause?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I still have a little bit of tickle in my throat. Yeah, they honored the championship team, and his widow was there.
And they booed the shit out of her.
And they booed her, which was uncalled for. I mean, I could see not liking Jerry Krause, but in that moment, that wasn't the right place or time to do it. And they have been reprimanded, or not reprimanded, but rebuked by the players and media and what have you. Just, and you could see, if you saw the video, she was crying and visibly upset. And
there were some players behind her.
Props, that was Ron Harper.
Calling her
I was
down.
just going to say props to Ron Harper for, putting his hand on her shoulders and trying to comfort her in that time and stuff. It just, you can be upset, but sometimes it's just there's certain time and places to show your disdain for somebody or what have you, and that just wasn't the place. I mean, that's a celebration, and you're celebrating your championship teams for those many years and all those players. Of course, Michael Jordan didn't attend, but he did send like a video message. But that's the main story from that weekend, isn't the championship and the celebration. It's them booing the poor widow who had nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So bad look, Bulls fans. Bad look.
There you go. That was my nugget.
All right. Well, as Nathan said, I'm in charge of the Facebook page, and he's running the Twitter page. I've tried to keep fairly active on the Facebook page and put some posts up, fairly regularly. And I'll try to keep that up going forward as long as Nathan approves. So please like the Facebook page. There
was a post where you used all lower caps and it bothered me.
Oh, sorry.
You didn't have a capitalization.
We did have a new subscriber. I didn't catch his name, so I apologize, but we did get him a koozie. So shout out to you, and he left us a 5-star review. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Shout out whatever your name is. Show how much we love you.
Well, he works with your sister Emma. So thank you, Emma, and props to him. Appreciate Emma giving him the koozie, and hopefully he'll be a loyal listener going forward.
Shout out Jameson. He commented his favorite number 37s on your Facebook post.
Oh, what'd he say?
I don't remember.
Well, look it up. Jameson down there in Arkansas.
Should we say this is a listener comment?
our local Oklahoma listener.
I saw you updated the cover photo.
I did.
What's all bow heads? I didn't see that post. He said Sean Alexander and Ron Artest.
Oh.
Ron Artest was a good one.
Was Ron Artest 37?
According to Jameson.
Oh, shout out Jameson. Good call.
Meta World Peace.
Meta World Peace, yeah.
Yeah, 37. There he is.
Oh, nice. Looking right at
but
you.
it was him also wearing 15.
Oh, yeah.
So
these players that worn several numbers, they like what Shaq was in 4 episodes for us.
Well, this version of Shaq. Hey, the Orlando Shaq's getting his jersey retired.
Oh,
and
for him.
Dwayne Wade's getting a statue built for him. Going to be the first player in Miami to have a statue outside.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm coming up with nuggets on the spot.
Look at you.
So,
hope you got some barbecue sauce for those.
Try to do the sound again.
Nathan.
Sorry.
You must have burrito again. Tell everybody where they can find us on the socials there, Nathan.
Okay. Twitter at FIntentionsPod. I'm running that. I'll try to actually do some stuff on there. You can follow us on Facebook at not at FIntentionsPod.
Fast Intentions.
It's just Fast Intentions Podcast. We have a nice page. You can go and like it. You can see all the weird things my dad posts. Mm-hmm. Spotify, you can go on there, rate 5 stars. We have a nice review. Talk about what we did wrong or what should we improve on. Say maybe we do too many fart sounds or we do too many diatribes. Just let us know what you like. And then on YouTube, we have a video podcast now, so you can watch us in all our glory. Watch us stare at each other or look pissed off when we say things we don't like. So he's making weird faces right now. So you can subscribe to us on YouTube and also leave comment, leave feedback, anything you like or dislike. So there's plenty of places to watch Fast Intentions to get all your favorite Fast Intentions.
Except
things.
Apple.
Yeah, except Apple.
Jerks.
Fuck Apple.
Ooh, easy.
Sorry.
Just language.
So yeah, we got to actually have some banter this podcast. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
People say we don't argue enough.
We don't what? That's bullshit.
Yeah, we don't argue enough, but we did this episode. All because of Mike fucking McCarthy. What a